knew from the book of Genesis chapter 3, the whole of that chapter, when God said, "Least man will stretch forth his hand and eat from the tree of life, for behold, he has become like one of us, knowing good and evil." Now, it was not an accusation. God was just guessing. Of a truth, God has seen that the quest for immortality was activated when man disobeyed and he ate from that tree of knowledge and good. And to prove to you, today, from that moment, the quest for immortality was activated. And today, an ex-Google engineer has predicted that immortality will be attainable by the year 2030. Is there on Google? You can Google that and find out. And now, if science has begun to come close to this level of immortality with the revolution of AI that has begun to raise serious ethical concerns globally, the call for government to step into this and bring a pause or a stop to the creation of diverse AI robots that have begun to raise serious ethical and security concerns. Now, the devil, just like in the Garden of Eden, will always present what looks good in the first instance, just the way he presented to Eve in the Garden of Eden. And the revolution of AI looks like it was going to aid a lot of suffering, and it was going to bring man closer to rest. And it is innovation. What is wrong with innovation technology? It makes life more easier for man. Oh, that is true. But because there is always an evil plan behind the scene, and I want to tell us that man will be taking the mark of the beast, which is the number of man, 666. The moment these nano robots that will aid and bring man into immortality is finally released, whether you be forced to take it or not, the evolution of this technology will lead to a point, just like COVID-19 was made mandatory. Either they will now bring out another virus that will become of a necessity that you need to take one of these nano robots to preserve your life. Whatever plague will fall upon the earth, that will guarantee that you are healthy. The day you begin to subscribe to immortality in this sinful flesh, you have crossed the line beyond redemption. This was the very fruit from the Garden of Eden Satan had in mind that man will eat from. He had in mind that man will eat actually two fruits. The one we are told of was that of knowledge and good. But what was in his mind was that fruit first, and then the second was to take immortality. First, he wants man to sink into the sinful nature by disobedience, and then he eats the fruit of immortality. And by eating from this fruit of immortality, he cannot be redeemed. Therefore, he has brought to condemnation the Father's beloved creation, which is man. And that's why they will say, who is man that thou art mindful of? So the strategy has been released to destroy the beloved of the Father. We are so beloved of God, so much more that he called us the apple of God's eyes. And he said, who is man that thou art mindful of? God thinks about us. The Bible says, God so loved the world, the very world Satan wants to destroy, wants to bring to condemnation. Because the moment you sink into disobedience, into the sinful nature, God has a redemptive plan. And because of that redemptive plan, he protected man from the particular tree of life. It wasn't a tree of life it looked like God was protecting from man. It was man God was protecting from the tree of life, because he has a plan for the recreated man, that after you have been transformed and reconciled back to him, you might partake of the tree of life. But until then, you are not supposed to partake in the tree of life. And therefore, you heard of the number 66. The day you take of this number 66, which is the number of man, you have partake of this tree of life in the garden you were protected from. But because the intellectual capacity and faculties of man have been activated by disobedience and the quest for knowledge and the evolutions of AI as we see it today, man is closer to that immortality. And that is eternal condemnation. When you hear of eternal condemnation, that means that you have gone beyond redemption. This very thing was why God protected and took man out of the Garden of Eden, that he may protect man from that particular tree of life and reserve it for man. It was for man. It was there for man. It has always been there for man to partake of it. But since the time has not ripened for man to partake of that tree of life, Satan had a plan that man be condemned by sin and by disobedience and partake of immortality, turning the timings and the seasons of man. That pattern has not changed. It has always been like that. And therefore today he's presenting to us different form of AI. We are in the garden of AI, the garden of AI, the garden of fruits. And in the midst of this, the quest for immortality will arise. And men will subscribe to it. And that will be the number of man. That which man was forced to desire out of curiosity. I hope you will catch this revelation and be prepared for that which is to come. That God will provide all that we need, that we have no need to partake of this robot of immortality. God forbid. New from the book of Genesis chapter 3, the whole of that chapter, when God said, "Least man will stretch forth his hand and eat from the tree of life, for behold, he has become like one of us, knowing good and evil." Now, it was not an accusation God was just guessing. Of a truth, God has seen that the quest for immortality was activated when man disobeyed and he ate from that tree of knowledge and good. And to prove to you, today, from that moment,